using this fgetS here. All right, so please go ahead and open it up the template file from our class material folder, and see if you can fill out this function. This is a part of the comparison function, and the first thing you want to do is to open those two files, right? And sorry, read the line from the file. And the second thing is you want to compare those characters one by one. All right. Yeah, please go ahead. I cannot see what you do on your screen, so let's just wait for about 3 minutes to talk about this part, or actually, yeah, a little bit more, maybe 5 minutes to talk about the answer of this part. So in this part of the code, what you can see is we're using two integers, right? One is the line number, the other is the I, right? The line number tracks which line we're reading at, versus this I tracks which the character number is, right? So when we're reading the line from the file, Every time we do that, we will increment that line number by 1, right? And then if we're reading this, comparing the character one by one, every time we do that, we also increment that by 1 as well, right? So here is the solution of it. So first of all, we reading this new line from the file, right? And then we will read this each character from the line and comparing them, right? As long as they're not equal to each other, we're going to print it out and finish this functions here. So again, the purpose of this is just to let you practice how to use the Ungetc function, and which you should put this pointer to store the string, as well as the size of the string, as well as your file pointer, right? You're getting this, and as long as not return is null, and you will continue the following steps down the road. And when we comparing the character level, you are reading each character from the array, and again after that you will increment your character value as well as increment this new line value. It's outside this program. I didn't have them here, but it's in your template file. Okay. The second part is to handle the case that if one file has more lines than another, right? So in that case, we're comparing if the file has different number of lines, right? So to handle that, we will essentially just to have a set scenario where one of them, right, one of this Ungetc will be new, right? So if one file reaches new but the other haven't, right, and that means they have different amount of lines, right? Okay, so that's it for this first activity exercise here. So now let's look at a few more functions that is available in the standard library. So here are a list of them. So if we just quickly go through them one by one, is alpha, right? That function is to determine if a character is alphabetic, right? If a return value is non-zero, it means it is alphabetic. Otherwise, if return 0 means it's not, right? So if you're using this function, you can say is alpha c and then not equal 0, right? In that case, it will means it is alphabet. It is a letter, right? Similar idea apply to is uppercase, is lowercase, is digit, is space, okay? The is space has actually a wider function. A wider application is not only determining if it's a blank, but also will see if it's a tab, a Y line, right? A new line. So all three of them will give you the result is 0. So that's quite handy. The other two functions is to convert a character to its uppercase or a lowercase. So it's 2 upper or 2 lower. One more function, okay, is this Ungetc. Okay, Ungetc is very similar to what we have applied Ungetc character, right? We had look at that. We have like a custom function of that thing in the previous lessons, right? Remember, we had a buffer, and we have a push and pop, right? And when reading a string, right? So in that time, if we're reading a character which we don't actually want, right? So we'll put it back to the buffer. So essentially, this function Ungetc doing the same thing. So it's um, putting the character back to the file one at a time. Okay, so essentially, just put this back to the buffer and move your pointer backwards one position. Okay, so it can be useful when we're reading the file, right? As we've been looked at that before. The other function is system. So the system function will take command such as date, and then it will print out the current date and time. So that's quite handy if you wanted to know what's the current time of the system. And but it actually depends on the system you're running. Sometimes I output the date in different formats. The other function is called callocate. Callocate is very similar to the allocate we have looked at before. And this time, when we call in this callocate, we're basically reserve enough space for an object of specific size, right? So if say we have a structure here, right? So the size of structure, and then we knowing that we need about 10 of them, right? So we will use this callocate functions from the standard library. So you don't have to create that yourself, create a version of yourself. If it returns null, that means it's not cannot allocate enough space for that. So once this function is called, the storage will be initialized to 0, right? And also it will has identify the type of the object you want to initialize, and freed up enough space for all of them. Okay. Okay, so here is another exercise where you can practice all the functions, not all of them, most of the function we have just looked at before. So imagine that you're developing a log file analyzer. The log file analyzer means you have a log file produced from your operation system, and you're opening up that file and do a few things. Okay, first of all, you read every log entry, right? Essentially, that's every new line. And then you count the number of character and identify if any unwanted or corrupted data. And then you use the system function to log the current time of your analysis, right? And then you make sure you have enough memory to store detected warning and errors. Okay. So here is the example. Imagine this is the content in your log, right? Some of the log has this flag as info, right? Some of the warning, some of is error, right? So in the last step, you only want to store warning and error. You ignore the info part, right? So when you need to store those information, you need to allocate proper amount of memory using this callocate functions. Also, you want to read them line by line and determine the number of alphabet, number of digit, and as well as number of white space in that particular line of log. Again, in addition, you will print the current time at the beginning. So here, yeah, so those are the 3 outputs you want to create. As before, we are not reading this from a real file. right? So we're using this memory version of this memory underscore fget to read this string in, and yeah, and we're going to look at those steps one by one, right? The first